So I'm James Zaylor. I'm the Associate Director of Technology to Market. I'm here with the next installation of our Energy Briefs, speaking with Brent Ridley from Skyscrape. I had the pleasure of working with Brent as the Tech to Market advisor in his project that was awarded under the Delta program. The Delta program was a program that focused on modifying or opening up the envelope for control within a building by making people more comfortable by allowing them to have personal air conditioners, personal heaters, or textiles that would make them more comfortable over a wider range of temperature conditions. And Brent had a really cool project under that program, and we're going to hear about it today and where it's gone since he left ARPA-E.
The initial concept was to leverage a biomorph, two materials that are laminated together and their differential response to temperature. So if we imagine two materials, one that expands or contracts a lot with temperature and another that doesn't at all, but they're held together, then what happens as one gets a lot larger is it can't slide past the other, they're held together, and so it forces the two collectively to bend. And so this basic insight, which is a classical mechanism that's well understood and described mathematically, was the initial motivation for, oh, maybe we could make a textile do this. The new idea, which in some sense is just an abstraction of that idea and arguably an even simpler concept, was to remove the kind of lamination or deep connection between the two materials and say, well, those could just be two separate yarns. And the structure of a textile could hold together those two yarns.
I want to follow up on a couple of things here. So you have the insight of going away from a laminated bimorph to something that's more textile-like. Of course, then the next step here is to make sure that you can make this in a sufficient volume to be cost competitive with even luxury products in the clothing space. The textile industry, needless to say, is kind of invisible to many of us, but is all around us in terms of its products, and is highly commoditized and optimized from a manufacturing perspective. So can you tell a little bit about like the experience of trying to take this really elegant concept that you were able to do at kind of the bench scale and figure out how to bring that into a commercial scale where you can start to achieve volumes and productivities that make it cost competitive and market viable?
It was necessary to have then both an eye on the long-term production and manufacturing, as well as what we needed to do near term, which was make better and better versions of the fabric and make better and better proof of concept fabrics so that we could eventually put those in garments and make garments that really did what we needed them to do. And that really highlights, actually, one of the real challenges with this project, which was that we're interested in making a garment, but to make a garment, you have to make a fabric, and to make a fabric, you have to make a yarn. And each one of those things you might consider a research project, but we really had to do all of them. And making a garment really needed to be looking toward being commercial. It wasn't adequate to just make any old garment. It really needed to be compelling and convincing to somebody in the industry, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to make the decision to work with us or not as we try to bring this to market.
That's great. So you've got that, and you've got that accomplishment. Where do you go from here? How do you build on that? What are your plans for Skyscrape?
A lot of people took notice, especially other brands that we've been talking to or manufacturers. And so there's a lot of inbound interest, but mostly, I think most importantly, there's interest from the people that we've already been talking to. And so this really shows that these garments can be made in some considerable volume, that we can make the fabric reliably, we can make the yarn reliably. So it really turbocharged all of the conversations that we were already having. What that means for us as a matter of practicality is we push forward with a number of other brands to try to put together what looks like a coherent materials brand that goes to market through a handful of select top-tier partners who each kind of have their own take or their own voice around the technology. And as we get to some sort of real considerable manufacturing scale, then potentially that opens up and this becomes a technology that's even more widely distributed.
So Brent, thank you very much for joining us and telling us about your technology, your product, and your journey with ARPA-E. We've appreciated the time and certainly enjoyed watching you guys succeed.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.